Fanfic Corner, presented by Jennifer. Not So Well, Part 2. Voices murmured around her. Omega found it quite calming, despite the urgency in some of the longer strands of words. As long as she wasn't alone, everything would be okay. The warmth from the person she was against felt good against her cold skin. She leaned in closer as the voices became softer and softer until they disappeared completely. We have a situation. The uncertainty in Tech's tone caused the batch members to worry. What's wrong now? Echo sat up straighter, fearing the worst. My tests came back, and it appears that the illness Omega is fighting is called the Blue Shadow virus. I'm assuming the virus entered her immune system from the last mission in the abandoned facility on Naboo. Tech pushed his goggles up, a grim expression across his face. The cure is rare to obtain, but without it, Omega has limited time. Limited time? What's that mean? Riker asked, keeping his voice low. Hunter's face already started to pale, matching Omega's sickly one. It means if we don't find the cure, Omega will perish, Tech said, growing quiet towards the end. The words were like poison coming out. We have to get our hands on it. Tech, where is it located? Hunter fired, hopping to his feet, ready to go anywhere in the galaxy to find it. Tech's expression only deepened. The cure resides within the black market. Hunter, we couldn't afford to buy it, and stealing it isn't an option. It would take too long, and time isn't on our side. Well, we have to do something, Echo shouted, refusing to sit around and do nothing. Not when Omega's life was on the line. Maybe Sid has some information that could be useful. How much is it? The closest dealer that has it in their possession is on Ornamental. They're charging 500,000 credits. 500,000, Wrecker exclaimed, causing Omega to stir as he settled back down. That's a lot, he said softer. Where are we going to get that amount of credits from? We can't. I'm unsure what we can do. Hearing Tech lose hope was never good. Normally, he would give the percentages of success, but when he didn't bring up any numbers, that usually meant there wasn't a chance. So that's it? Omega's just going to die? Hunter felt the anger boiling up inside of him. He didn't know who or what it was directed towards, but that was the only emotion he was able to feel at the moment. Omega was a kid. She had her whole life ahead of her. So many planets he had promised her they would explore. New foods she would try that weren't rations. But most importantly, her childhood. The one that was taken away from her at such a young age. He'd fight till the end of the galaxy to give her the smallest bit of a normal one. Echo sat deep in thought. The name unlocked something in his mind. A past conversation of sorts. Tech. Say the name of the virus again, he said slowly. Tech cocked his head, but did as he said. The Blue Shadow virus. Echo sprang up, running into the cockpit. He knew the title was familiar. He plugged in his contact information as fast as his fingers allowed. He waited impatiently until the hologram of a blonde clone came into view. Rex. He gave his old friend a weak smile. It's good to see you. Same to you, brother. What's wrong? The captain could obviously tell something wasn't right. It's Omega. She's fallen ill. You said back on a mission you were exposed to a virus on Naboo. Please don't tell me. Yeah. Look, I know it's a long shot, but you wouldn't happen to have the antidote, would you? Echo crossed his fingers out of sight. I might. I have to check. It was a long time ago, but Kix always carried it in every med kit, just in case. Rex disappeared out of sight for a few moments. That to Echo felt like hours, but when he finally returned, all his hopes came rushing back. I'm sending you my coordinates. Hurry. I know from experience that the symptoms are grueling to the person it's affecting. You have no idea how much you're doing for us, Rex. Echo shut off the transmitter and hurried back to the rest of Clone Force 99. Who were you talking to? Hunter questioned. Rex. He has the cure. He does? Echo nodded rapidly. We need to get moving, for her sake. He glanced down at Omega, shivering in Wrecker's arms. It was going to be a long trip. Omega felt bad before, but somehow it had gotten worse. Her whole body was sore, from head to toe. She didn't even know that was possible. Having not moved for hours, her dreams were interrupted by a migraine. She tried to speak out, to cry, to say something, but her throat was raw, even more so than before, making it impossible to communicate without causing her further pain. Her eyelids remained shut, being too heavy to open. We're approaching Brekka. Rex suggested we land some ways away from the cruiser. No, we need to land directly. Not unless we're trying to get caught. We can't help Omega if we're captured. Omega listened to her brother's argument. She hated when they did that, especially if it was about her. She wanted to tell them that it was okay. She would be fine. But she was uncertain if she would be. She sure didn't feel fine. But she could pretend for them. She was about to try and talk when the cushion she was pressed up against rose. An arm held her to the chest of who she knew to be Wrecker. A sudden gust of wind blew into the body of the ship as she was able to recognize that they were moving, but to where she hadn't the slightest clue. The constant strides of Wrecker's footsteps made her nauseous, but it wasn't like she couldn't do anything. Instead, white dots began to dance under her vision. She found them soothing, as if they wanted her to follow them, somewhere peaceful. She let herself take an interest in them, unaware of where they would take her. Rex prepped the medical bay, the syringe of the cure firmly gripped in his hands. Though he didn't know Omega quite as well as the others, he felt the urge to protect her just as he did Ahsoka. He prepared himself for the sight of the child once hearing the footsteps running down the hall. In here, he called, opening the sliding door. Wrecker was the first to enter, since he was the one carrying Omega. Her skin was extremely pale, considering that she hadn't seen much sun in the first place. Blue lines ran up and down her face, making her look even more sickly. The sight brought back old memories. Once he pressed down. Place her on the bed. She needs an oxygen mask, he ordered. Hunter nodded, taking her from Wrecker and setting her down. It pained him in a way he didn't know possible, seeing her in a state. Where's the antidote? He looked wildly around for Rex. She needs to be a little more stable, or else her system won't be able to handle it. Rex placed a hand on the sergeant's shoulders. We can't wait any longer. She needs it now, Hunter yelled frustratedly. Echo walked over, trying to talk sense into the frantic leader. Hunter, Rex is right. Calm down. Give her a few minutes. She doesn't have a few minutes. The longer we wait, the closer she is to never waking up again. His voice cracked from all the yelling. Hunter needed her to be okay. It wasn't an option for her to die. Tech, is she ready? Echo addressed the one supervising her vitals. I believe so, though we are cutting it close, he warned. Rex handed the syringe to Hunter. Here, you do it. Hunter quickly and carefully injected it into the girl's arm. He watched as the fluid entered her veins. Now all they could do was wait and hope it wasn't too late. After a few hours of off and on naps and a lot of pacing, Omega finally began to stir. Wrecker tapped Hunter, who had fallen asleep next to her. She's waking up, he whispered, causing the sergeant to jolt awake as well. Omega opened her eyes to see all around her were pairs identical to hers. Everything was still hazy, but the intense pain she had felt before was dying down. It's okay. You can go back to sleep if you want. Hunter's voice sounded gentle. She gave a small nod, letting herself fall asleep to the lullaby of relaxed chatter.